Do you want to make a difference to our government but feel held back by social anxiety? That is the case for a lot of people who have political aspirations, and sometimes they try and take the shortcut by just meeting a few important people and try and hit those pressure points to end up getting pre-selection. It is a shortcut that isn't that effective. Instead, watch what Gough Whitlam did. But Werriwa was not going to be an easy electorate to get pre-selection for. It not only made up the Sutherland Shire, but also a good chunk of Western Sydney, somewhere that Whitlam hadn't yet made any inroads in. His main rival was a guy called Cliff Mallum. He was an editor for a newspaper called Sentry. If you know your Mr. M law, you'd know that that was the newspaper of the most controversial Labor Premier of New South Wales, Jack Lang. Mallum had the backing of head office, and taking him down was going to be no mean feat. Whitlam went to the branch secretaries from over here and asked them for the addresses of their branch members. He then wrote them a letter promising to spend 2 Saturdays of every month in the West. However, Whitlam had one other thing going in his favour. The pre-selection committee had no interference from head office. In other words, 415 local branch members would decide their preferred candidate. Whitlam simply outworked Mallum on the trail. The final vote was 249 for Whitlam and 163 for Mallum. So Whitlam had won pre-selection for Werriwa, but the election was still 2 years away. Now, if you read Troy Brampton's biography of Gough Whitlam, he makes quite an interesting point. So apparently his wife Margaret quite liked doing small talk and was happy to exchange general niceties, but Whitlam found it extremely tedious and extremely draining, and he had a very short social battery for that sort of thing. Now, you look at Whitlam, you think this is a charismatic, charming guy, like he would have seemed like the life of the party. But Whitlam suffered from the same affliction that I know I suffer with, and perhaps you do as well. He really hated small talk. But that didn't stop Whitlam from building a very effective grassroots campaign. So when it came to the Labor Party, Whitlam suffered from this real form of reverse snobbery. Like in any other circumstance, you would think, the grey suit lawyer up against the crusty unionist, the grey suit lawyer is going to be the one that has the hand up. But in the Labor Party, it worked completely the other way. People were very skeptical of Gough Whitlam because he worked in a white-collar environment, and people generally just viewed him as an outsider that doesn't belong in the party. But Whitlam was able to overcome it using a couple of key methods. Now, the first one is one that you absolutely cannot replicate at home because it is a huge data breach post-1988. But he got the branch secretary to give him the addresses of all the people that were at the branch. And across the Sutherland Shire, he went and really got to meet all those people that were just members of the Labor Party. And the underlying reason as to why that's really effective is not only is it a point of contact, but he can actually customize his message to each individual person. Put it this way, right? I have a second podcast. It's called the Big Hits Podcast. Go and follow if you're interested. Not the point of what I'm trying to plug here. But on that podcast, we're trying to get people to give the podcast ratings because that makes us look reputable, and we're trying to reach out to a couple of rugby league players to come on. And so we want to look reputable as we do that. But we have put up community posts on YouTube that haven't worked all that well. We've done the same thing on Instagram. We've put up Instagram stories and I can see who it's gone out to. Again, that has come back empty without much of a harvest there. But we have a TikTok, and on that TikTok, we're getting lots of followers that are coming through, and we're sending a message to each follower that comes through, basically going, hey, thanks for coming along. If you want to check us out, this is what we've got. If you want to follow, it will appear right in your dashboard, and feel free to give us a rating as well. And that right there is giving us so many more ratings. And there's one thing that we're adding in particular that is guaranteeing that we're getting results, and that is by saying, you get to choose a game of your choice that we'll put into a hat and we'll draw it out of the hat. And that just that simple point of customization of just us being able to hear what NRL team they follow is getting so much more interactivity with follows and ratings on our podcast. So in your campaign, you need to find a way to have a message that can be customized in a scalable and manageable way that you can touch hundreds of people. And for all the introverts in the room, you're probably thinking, man, this sounds like a lot of tedious conversation that feels really disingenuous as well, because I'm ultimately trying to get something from someone else, and it feels quite LinkedIn and very corporate networky and not my cup of tea. But here's just a couple of very easy ways to actually get to know people in the party and hear what their concerns are so that you can build a platform around those concerns. The first one is to put your hand up to volunteer for as many election campaigns as possible. I mean, that in itself provides valuable experience, particularly when it comes to things like door knocking and dealing with rejection from people quite frequently. It's very good for your social confidence, learning to basically go, oh, I got rejected by that person and my world didn't collapse. But much more importantly, it's very easy to meet people and you're doing an activity together. So you are bonding over an activity. And for men, they get much better conversation on the golf course than they do over a cup of coffee. That's just a general rule of thumb when it comes to men, is we find it way easier to talk over an activity than during deliberate conversational exchange. The other thing as well when it comes to volunteering for campaigns is that you are under orders. And so you really don't have to think that creatively and think, okay, where am I going to take the conversation here? Because your day is highly structured for you. The second thing is if you are new to the party, ask your branch secretary to introduce you to as many people as possible and use that new person effect as well as possible. When I worked at Superbun, I used the line because I never knew where anything was. I get asked, oh, what aisle is this on? And I said it was my first day for like my first 6 months. And it was great. I got so much grace because people are charitable to people who are new. And so if you are new, use that to your advantage by getting yourself introduced to as many people as possible. And that way you don't have to do the facilitating yourself. The third one is to join the Barcaldine Academy. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. And on our Discord, there are loads of helpful people that are helping other people in the Barcaldine Academy meet up with other people in labor. And it's kind of becoming its own networking machine. I really don't think it's that long till people find love in the Barcaldine Academy. If you are a little bit more senior in the party or have a little bit more experience when it comes to branch membership, try and join a policy action committee or become a delegate. And this last one is probably the easiest one, and it's just to ask new people that you meet what motions have they introduced at their local branch. You'll get a lot of localized knowledge this way about particular train stations that might have issues with them, or really anything that you wouldn't get from just digesting media or from the news cycle. By just doing those techniques, you'd be surprised at how quickly you can make friends within the Labour Party and build a support network around you, while also actually getting some pretty good policy ideas from other people as well, which is the point of the Labour Party. It's as a community coming together to put forward what is the best policy vision. You might even fall in love as well. But once you have a support base behind you and you feel ready to challenge for pre-selection, it's no good not knowing what you're going to do next. And that's why you need to watch this video right here that tells you how to leverage a support network to get you massive results.